The crystal walls of the Zephyrian Palace stretched high above the clouds, floating like a jewel in the purple sky of Aetheros. Inside the grand throne room, hundreds of alien nobles gathered in their flowing robes that shimmered with inner light. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes glowed soft silver in the dim lighting. They moved with the grace of beings who had never known hardship. Princess Lorelei stood near the massive throne, her crown catching the light from the floating crystals above. She was young by Zephyrian standards, maybe 200 years old, but she carried herself like someone who had never been told no. Her dress was made from starlight silk that cost more than most planets earned in a year. She watched the human delegation enter with the kind of smile a cat might wear while watching mice. The humans looked small and awkward in the vast room. Their skin was different shades of brown and pink. Their hair came in strange colors, and they walked heavily on legs that seemed too short. Most wore simple dark suits that looked plain next to the Zephyrian finery. They kept close together, clearly uncomfortable in the alien palace, but one human stayed at the back of the group. He was older than the others, maybe 60 years by human counting. His hair was gray and white, cut short in military style. Deep lines marked his face, and old scars ran across his hands and neck. He wore a simple green military uniform with a few small medals. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would catch attention. Princess Lorelei noticed him anyway. "Mother," she said, her voice carrying across the silent room. "Why do the humans bring their garbage with them?" Queen Vatsara sat on the crystal throne, tall and regal. Her crown was older than human civilization, carved from a single star crystal that had taken 1,000 years to grow. She did not answer her daughter. Her silver eyes watched the human delegation with careful attention. "I mean," Princess Lorelei continued, louder now so everyone could hear, "look at that old thing they brought. Is that supposed to be a soldier? He looks like he should be in a museum." Some of the Zephyrian nobles laughed. The sound was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Beautiful but cold. The human diplomats shifted uncomfortably. Their leader, Ambassador Sarah Kim, kept her face neutral, but her hands were tight fists at her sides. The old soldier did not react. He stood at attention, his back straight and his eyes forward. His name was Marcus Chun, though the princess did not know that yet. He had been told to expect this kind of treatment. The Zephyrians thought they were better than everyone else, especially humans. "Look at those scars," Princess Lorelei said, walking closer to get a better view. "What happened to him? Did he fall down some stairs? Trip over his own feet?" More laughter from the nobles. "Do humans get that ugly when they age? How embarrassing." Marcus Chun's jaw moved slightly, but he said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed on a point above the princess's head. "Can he even hear me?" Princess Lorelei asked. "Maybe he's too old. Maybe his brain stopped working." She turned to the other humans. "Is he broken? Should we get someone to take him away?" Ambassador Kim stepped forward. "Your Highness, Colonel Chun is one of our most respected." "Colonel?" Princess Lorelei laughed, the sound like breaking glass. "They made this relic a colonel? What does he command? A nursing home? A retirement center?" The Zephyrian nobles found this very funny. "I suppose humans will give anyone a title these days." Marcus Chen finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. "Your Highness is very kind." Princess Lorelei blinked in surprise. She had expected anger, maybe fear. Instead, the old human sounded polite, almost respectful. This was not what she wanted. "Kind?" she said. "Oh, I'm not being kind. I'm being honest. You look terrible. Your species looks terrible. How did you even get into space? Did someone feel sorry for you and give you the technology?" "Perhaps," Marcus Chun said simply. This made Princess Lorelei even angrier. She wanted him to fight back, to give her a reason to be more cruel. Don't you have any pride? Any dignity? You're supposed to be a soldier, but you act like a beaten dog. I serve at the pleasure of my government, Your Highness. Your government sent you here to embarrass themselves? Princess Lorelei circled around him slowly. Look at you. Gray hair, wrinkled skin, old scars. You probably can't even walk without pain. Why didn't they send someone young? Someone who might actually impress us. Marcus Chun turned his head slightly to meet her eyes. For just a moment, Princess Lorelei felt something strange. His eyes were dark brown, almost black, and there was something in them she could not understand. Not fear, not anger. Something else. Something deeper. I go where I am sent, Your Highness. Princess Lorelei felt frustrated. This was not fun if he would not fight back. Well, you shouldn't have been sent here. You're wasting our time. You're wasting everyone's time. Look around this room. See all these important people? They could be doing important things instead of looking at you. She gestured to the other nobles, who nodded and murmured agreement. You don't belong here. Your kind doesn't belong here. This is a place for advanced beings, not primitive creatures who barely learned to fly between stars. Marcus Chan nodded slightly. The princess is wise. Stop agreeing with me. Princess Lorelei snapped. Fight back. Defend yourself. Show some backbone. I would not presume to argue with Your Highness. Princess Lorelei wanted to scream. She looked at her mother on the throne, hoping for support, but Queen Vachira was still watching silently. The queen's expression gave away nothing. Fine, Princess Lorelei said. If you won't defend yourself, I'll just have to keep telling the truth about you. You're old, ugly, weak, and useless. Your species is barely civilized. You probably still fight with sticks and stones on your little mud planet. Marcus Chun said nothing. Tomorrow, Princess Lorelei announced, I think we should test just how useless human soldiers really are. Maybe then you'll find your voice. She walked away, her starlight dress flowing behind her. The other nobles followed, still laughing and talking about the amusing human. Marcus Chun remained at attention until the formal ceremony ended. When the humans finally left the throne room, Ambassador Kim walked beside him. I'm sorry about that, she said quietly. She's worse than we expected. Marcus Chen nodded but said nothing. His dark eyes looked ahead as they walked through the crystal corridors. Somewhere in his mind, he was already preparing for whatever would come tomorrow. The next morning brought new humiliation. Princess Lorelei had clearly thought about how to make the old human soldier's life miserable. She appeared at breakfast in the great dining hall, where humans and Zephyrians were supposed to eat together as a sign of friendship between their peoples. Marcus Chun sat with the other humans at a long table made of polished starwood. The human diplomats picked carefully at the strange Zephyrian food, trying not to offend their hosts. Everything glowed softly and tasted like nothing they had ever experienced before. Princess Lorelei approached with a crystal pitcher full of purple liquid. The wine inside swirled with tiny lights, like trapped stars. It was expensive beyond measure, made from fruits that grew only in the royal gardens. Oh, Colonel, she said sweetly, you look thirsty. Let me help you. She pretended to pour the wine into his glass, but her hand slipped at just the right moment. The glowing liquid spilled across Marcus Chun's uniform, soaking through the green fabric and dripping onto the floor. The other diners gasped. Some of the wine was worth more than a human family might earn in 10 years. Oh no, Princess Lorelei said, her voice full of fake concern. I'm so sorry, but I suppose it doesn't matter. Your uniform was already ugly. Now it's just ugly and purple. The Zephyrian nobles at nearby tables laughed. Marcus Chun stood slowly, purple liquid dripping from his sleeves. He pulled a simple cloth napkin from the table and began dabbing at the worst spots. Please don't worry, Your Highness, he said calmly. Accidents happen? Accident? Princess Lorelei raised her eyebrows. Oh, that wasn't an accident. I did that on purpose. I wanted to see if you would finally show some anger. But you're even more boring than I thought. Marcus Chun continued cleaning his uniform. The princess is very honest. Stop that. Princess Lorelei snapped. Stop being so polite. It's creepy. Normal people get angry when someone ruins their clothes. Normal people defend themselves. But I suppose you're not normal, are you? You're just a broken old man. She turned to the other humans. Is he always like this? Just agrees with everything? No wonder your species took so long to develop. You probably spent thousands of years just nodding at each other instead of fighting for what you wanted. Ambassador Kim started to speak, but Marcus Chun gave her a small shake of his head. She fell silent, though her face was red with anger. Over the following days, Princess Lorelei's games became more elaborate. During a tour of the palace technology centers, she loudly questioned whether humans could understand advanced science. Look at this quantum resonance chamber, she said, gesturing to a device that hummed with barely contained energy. This generates power from folded space. Do you even know what that means, Carl? Or is it too complex for your primitive brain? Marcus Chun studied the machine for a moment. His eyes moved over the crystal matrices and energy conduits with careful attention. It's very impressive, Your Highness. I bet you think it's magic, Princess Lorelei said. Your people probably worship machines like this because you can't understand them. Do you pray to your starships, Carl? Do you think spirits live in your computers? Some humans find spiritual meaning in technology, Marcus Chun replied. Though most understand the science behind it. Princess Lorelei missed the subtle correction in his words. She was too busy enjoying her own performance. I doubt that. You probably still use metal tools and chemical rockets. How embarrassing. We mastered gravity control 1,000,000 years ago. What she did not notice was how Marcus Chun's eyes tracked the crystal alignment patterns in the resonance chamber. How he noted the power flow indicators and stability readings. A careful observer might have realized he was memorizing the entire setup, understanding it in ways she could not imagine. Later that afternoon, in the palace gardens, Princess Lorelei arranged another public humiliation. She had invited dozens of young Zephyrian nobles to witness what she called human education time. Colonel, she announced as the group gathered around a floating fountain. I've been thinking about your age. How old are you exactly? In human years? 63, Your Highness. 63. Princess Lorelei clapped her hands together. That's ancient for your kind, isn't it? Practically dead. I'm 208, and I'm still considered young. You humans have such short, meaningless lives. The young nobles murmured agreement. To them, human lifespans seemed like brief flickers of light. Tell me, Princess Lorelei continued, what's it like knowing you'll die soon? Does it make you sad? Scared? Do you wake up every morning wondering if today is your last day? Marcus Chun considered the question seriously. Death gives life meaning, Your Highness. Knowing our time is limited makes us value each moment. How philosophical, Princess Lorelei mocked. But also how pathetic. We Zephyrians live for thousands of years. We have time to become truly wise, truly powerful. You humans barely live long enough to learn anything useful. She walked closer to him, her silver eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. Look at you. Gray hair, wrinkled skin, slow movements. You're probably in pain right now, aren't you? Your old bones aching, your muscles getting weaker every day. How can you stand it? The body ages, Marcus Chun said simply. The spirit can remain strong. Spirit? Princess Lorelei laughed. What spirit? You can barely stand up straight. I bet you can't even run anymore. Could you fight if you had to? Could you protect anyone? She turned to her friends. Should we test him? See how fast this old human can move? It might be funny to watch him try. Some of the young nobles looked uncomfortable now. Even by Zephyrian standards, this was becoming cruel. But Princess Lirelei was too caught up in her game to notice their changing mood. Maybe tomorrow, she said, we should have a little demonstration. I could show everyone the difference between superior Zephyrian abilities and inferior human weakness. Would you like that, Colonel? A chance to show off your ancient soldier skills? Marcus Chen met her eyes directly. For a moment, something passed between them that made Princess Lirelei step back. His voice remained quiet and respectful, but there was something new underneath it. If the princess wishes it, I will do my best to serve. Princess Lirelei felt a strange chill. She had expected fear, maybe pleading. Instead, she saw something in his dark eyes that she could not understand. Acceptance, yes, but something else. Something that made her remember, suddenly, that this was a soldier. Someone trained to fight and kill. But the moment passed quickly. He was just an old man again, standing politely with his hands clasped behind his back. Good, she said, trying to recapture her earlier confidence. Tomorrow then. We'll see what human soldiers are really made of. As the group dispersed, Marcus Chen remained in the garden for a few minutes. He walked slowly around the fountain, seemingly admiring the floating water sculptures. But his eyes were actually studying the palace guard positions. Noting sightlines and defensive weaknesses, Ambassador Kim found him there as the sun was setting. Marcus, she said quietly, you don't have to do this. We can file a formal complaint with the Queen. This has gone beyond diplomatic rudeness. Marcus Chen shook his head. She's young. She doesn't understand what she's asking for. That's what I'm afraid of, Ambassador Kim said. What exactly is she asking for? Marcus Chen watched the purple sun disappear behind the crystal spires of the palace. Tomorrow, she's going to learn something about humans that wasn't in her briefing files. He walked away, leaving Ambassador Kim staring after him with growing worry. In her diplomatic training, she had learned to read people, to understand the subtle signs of danger. Right now, every instinct she had was telling her that tomorrow would change everything. The palace combat arena was a marvel of Zephyrian engineering. The floor was made of smart crystal that could shift between hard and soft surfaces. Energy barriers created walls that could appear and disappear at will. Overhead, gravity fields could be adjusted to make fighters lighter or heavier. It was designed for the most advanced combat training in the galaxy. Princess Lirelei had invited everyone. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles filled the floating observation platforms that circled the arena. Human diplomats sat in a special section, their faces tight with worry. Word had spread through the palace, and even servants had found excuses to watch. Everyone wanted to see the spoiled princess humiliate the old human soldier. Queen Vaxera occupied the royal viewing box, her crystal crown reflecting the arena lights. Her expression remained neutral, but her silver eyes followed every movement below with intense focus. Princess Lirelei entered the arena like she was walking onto a stage. Her combat suit was a work of art, woven from energy fibers that could deflect most weapons and enhance her natural strength. At her sides hung two energy blades, their curved hilts decorated with precious metals. The weapons hummed with barely contained power. Capable of cutting through starship hulls, she moved with the fluid grace of someone trained from childhood in combat arts. Zephyrians were naturally faster and stronger than humans, with reflexes that operated at superhuman speeds. Princess Lirelei was considered exceptionally skilled, even by her people's standards. Marcus Chen entered from the opposite side, wearing simple combat clothes provided by the palace. They were plain gray fabric, nothing special. He had been offered energy weapons, but had politely declined. Instead, he carried 2 training swords made of common metal. They looked crude and primitive compared to the princess's glowing blades. "Look at him," Princess Lorelei announced, her voice carrying clearly through the arena's sound system. "Still trying to pretend he's a real soldier. Those weapons were outdated 1,000 years ago." She activated her energy blades with a theatrical flourish. The weapons came alive with blue fire, casting dancing shadows across the crystal floor. "I'll try not to hurt you too badly, old man, though I make no promises. Combat is unpredictable, and accidents happen." Marcus Chen tested the weight of his simple swords, moving them through basic practice forms. His movements were economical, efficient, with no wasted motion. To the watching crowd, he looked slow and clumsy compared to the princess's flowing grace. "Are you ready to begin, Colonel?" Princess Lorelei asked sweetly. "Or do you need a moment to remember how fighting works?" "Ready when you are, Your Highness." The arena's combat computer announced the start of the match. Princess Lorelei immediately launched into motion, her enhanced speed carrying her across the arena in a blur. Her energy blades sang through the air as she delivered a series of precise cuts designed to wound but not kill. Marcus Chen barely seemed to move. He shifted his weight slightly, turned his shoulder, stepped backward. Each of Princess Lorelei's attacks missed by inches. To the crowd, it looked like pure luck. "Stop running away," Princess Lorelei taunted, pursuing him across the arena floor. "Stand and fight like a soldier. Or are you too scared?" She increased her speed, her blades weaving complex patterns through the air. One blade sliced through the fabric of Marcus Chen's shirt, leaving a shallow cut across his arm. A few drops of red blood fell to the crystal floor. "First blood to me," Princess Lorelei announced triumphantly. "Should we stop now? I'd hate for you to get seriously hurt." Marcus Chen glanced at the cut on his arm. It was minor, barely worth noticing. "I can continue, Your Highness." "Good. I want everyone to see this properly." Princess Lorelei pressed her attack, driving Marcus Chen back toward the arena wall. Her blades moved faster now, seeking vital points. She landed another cut on his shoulder, then a scratch across his cheek. Each hit was precisely controlled, painful but not dangerous. The crowd began to murmur. Some felt uncomfortable watching such one-sided combat. Others were enjoying the show. Ambassador Kim gripped the railing of the human section, her knuckles white with tension. "Look at him bleed," Princess Lorelei called out. "This is what happens when primitive species try to compete with their betters. Maybe now you understand why humans should stay on their little planet and leave the galaxy to us." She prepared for a finishing move, raising both blades for a dramatic but non-lethal strike. "Any last words, Colonel?" Marcus Chen straightened slightly. For the first time in the fight, he looked directly into her eyes. "Yes, Your Highness. Thank you for the lesson." "What lesson?" "You fight like someone who has never been in real combat." Princess Lorelei blinked in confusion. "What?" Marcus Chen moved. Not the slow, defensive movements he had shown before, but something entirely different. He flowed like water, his body seeming to bend in impossible ways. One of his simple metal swords swept up in a perfect arc, striking Princess Lorelei's wrist with precise force. Her energy blade went flying through the air, deactivating as it clattered across the arena floor. Before she could react, his other sword was at her throat. The entire arena fell silent. Princess Lorelei stared down at the crude metal blade, pressed gently against her neck. The edge was sharp enough to cut, but Marcus Chen held it with perfect control. She could feel her pulse beating against the cold metal. "How?" she whispered. Marcus Chen stepped back, lowering his weapon. "You're very skilled, Your Highness. But you've only ever fought in practice matches with safety rules. You've never faced someone who was actually trying to kill you. Princess Lorelei looked around the arena in shock. Her remaining energy blade hung loose in her grip. But you're just a human. You're old and weak. I'm faster than you, stronger than you. Yes, Marcus Chen agreed. You are faster and stronger. But combat isn't about speed or strength. It's about understanding your opponent, reading their intentions, and using their advantages against them. He gestured to the scratches on his arms and face. You wanted to hurt me, but not too much. You wanted to humiliate me in front of your people. That need to control the outcome limited your options. Real combat has no such limits. Princess Lorelei's hand trembled slightly. You could have killed me. Yes, but you didn't. Marcus Chen looked up at the royal viewing box, where Queen Vaxera sat watching with unreadable eyes. Killing you would have served no purpose. You're not my enemy, Your Highness. You're just young. Princess Lorelei followed his gaze to her mother. Something in the Queen's expression made her stomach clench with sudden fear. Not fear of Marcus Chen, but fear that she had made a terrible mistake. I don't understand, Princess Lorelei said. You're just a human. We're superior to your kind. Everyone knows that. Marcus Chen picked up her dropped energy blade and offered it to her, hilt first. Different doesn't mean superior, Your Highness. It just means different. Princess Lorelei took the weapon with numb fingers. Around the arena, the crowd remained silent. No one seemed to know what to say or do. Would you like to continue the match? Marcus Chen asked politely. Princess Lorelei looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. She saw the scars on his hands and arms, old marks that spoke of battles fought and won. She saw the way he held himself, relaxed but ready, like someone who had faced death many times and lived. She saw his dark eyes, calm and patient, holding knowledge she was only beginning to glimpse. No, she said quietly. No, I think we're done here. Marcus Chen bowed slightly. As you wish, Your Highness. He turned and walked toward the exit, leaving Princess Lorelei standing alone in the center of the arena. The crowd began to disperse slowly, conversations buzzing with confusion and speculation. Princess Lorelei remained where she was, staring at the spots of blood on the crystal floor. For the first time in her life, she wondered if there were things about the universe that she didn't understand. That evening, Princess Lorelei sat in her chambers, staring at her reflection in the mirror. Her face was unmarked, unlike the human soldier who had shown such unexpected skill. She touched her throat where his blade had rested, remembering the feeling of cold metal against her skin. The memory made her shiver. A soft chime announced someone at her door. Enter, she called, expecting one of her servants. Queen Vaxera stepped into the room, still wearing her crystal crown. Her silver eyes held an expression that Lorelei had rarely seen before. Disappointment. Mother, Princess Lorelei began. I can explain about today. Silence. The Queen's voice was quiet but carried absolute authority. You will listen. Princess Lorelei closed her mouth and turned to face her mother fully. Queen Vaxera had ruled the Zephyrian Empire for 3,000 years. She had seen civilizations rise and fall, had made decisions that affected billions of lives. When she spoke with that tone, even princesses obeyed. Do you know who that human is? Queen Vaxera asked. Some old soldier named Chen. The humans brought him for reasons I don't understand. His name is Marcus Chen, Colonel. Marcus Chen of the Human Colonial Defense Force, and he is the reason you are alive. Today, Princess Lorelei frowned. I don't understand. Queen Vaxera touched a crystal panel on the wall. The room's lights dimmed and holographic displays appeared in the air between them. Computer. Access historical files. Authorization Vaxera Prime. Display the Battle of Kepler 442b, 15 years ago. The hologram shifted, showing star charts and tactical displays. Princess Lorelei had studied this battle in her military history classes. It was the decisive engagement of the human-Zephyrian First Contact War, when two species had met in space and immediately begun fighting. "I remember this," Princess Lorelei said. "Our forces defeated a human colony world. It proved our superiority." "Watch," Queen Visera commanded. The holographic display zoomed in on a single planet, showing the deployment of Zephyrian forces. Sleek silver ships surrounded the human colony like predators circling prey. The humans had only a few ships, old and crude compared to Zephyrian technology. "Our intelligence said the planet held 50 million human civilians and a small military garrison," Queen Visera narrated. "An easy conquest. We expected total surrender within hours." The display showed the first phase of the battle. Zephyrian ships descended toward the planet while human defenders scrambled to respond. It looked exactly like the military histories Princess Lorelei had read. But something went wrong, Queen Visera continued. The human military commander refused our surrender demands. Instead, he consolidated all his forces for a last stand at the planetary capital. The display shifted to show ground forces. Princess Lorelei saw thousands of human soldiers taking defensive positions around the city. Their equipment looked primitive compared to Zephyrian gear, but they had chosen their ground well. Who was the commander? Princess Lorelei asked, though she was beginning to suspect the answer. Colonel Marcus Chun, age 48 at the time. 15 years younger than the man you humiliated today. The holographic battle began to play out in real time. Princess Lorelei watched the Zephyrian forces advance with overwhelming superiority. They had energy weapons that could level buildings, aircraft that moved faster than human eyes could track, and soldiers enhanced with technology that made them nearly invulnerable. The humans should have been crushed in minutes, but they weren't. "Watch carefully," Queen Visera said. "See how the human forces move." Princess Lorelei leaned forward, studying the tactical display. The human defenders weren't fighting like she expected. Instead of standing in formation and trading fire, they flowed like water around the attacking Zephyrians. They appeared where they weren't expected, struck hard, and disappeared before retaliation could arrive. "He's using our advantages against us," Princess Lorelei whispered, remembering Marcus Chun's words from the arena. "Exactly. Every time our forces used superior speed, they found humans waiting at exactly the right place. Every time we used superior firepower, the humans had already moved. Colonel Chun turned our strengths into weaknesses. The battle raged for hours instead of minutes. Human casualties were heavy, but so were Zephyrian losses." Princess Lorelei watched in growing amazement as the outnumbered, outgunned humans held their ground. "But we won," she said. "The histories say we won." "We did win," Queen Visera agreed. "But not the way we expected." Show the final engagement. The display zoomed in on a single building in the human capital. Zephyrian Special Forces had cornered the human command staff, including their royal delegation that had been visiting the colony. Princess Lorelei could see her mother's younger self among the trapped Zephyrians. "I was there," Queen Visera said quietly, "leading the advance forces personally. I thought it would be a simple demonstration of power." On the display, human soldiers surrounded the building where the Zephyrian command was trapped. They had the advantage now, could have killed everyone inside. Princess Lorelei watched her younger mother, preparing for what looked like certain death. Then Marcus Chun appeared. Even in the grainy hologram, Princess Lorelei could recognize him. He was younger, his hair still dark, but he moved with the same fluid efficiency she had witnessed in the arena. He approached the building alone, carrying a simple white flag. "He could have killed us all," Queen Visera said. "His forces controlled the area. We were trapped and outnumbered. By all rights of war, we were already dead." Instead of attacking, the holographic Marcus Chun entered the building. The display switched to audio recordings from that day. His voice came through clearly, calm and professional. Your Majesty, I am Colonel Marcus Chun of the Human Colonial Defense Force. I believe there has been a misunderstanding between our peoples. Princess Lorelei heard her mother's younger voice respond with anger. There is no misunderstanding, human. You resist the natural order. You will be absorbed into our empire or destroyed. I don't think that's what either of us really wants, Marcus Chun replied. You came here expecting an easy victory. We defended our home because we had no choice. But continuing this fight serves no purpose for either side. You dare lecture me on purpose? The younger Queen Vasera demanded. No, Your Majesty. I'm offering you a choice. The recording continued for nearly an hour. Princess Lorelei listened in growing amazement as Marcus Chun negotiated not just a ceasefire, but the foundation of what would become lasting peace between the two species. He offered technological exchanges, cultural sharing, and mutual defense agreements. Why? The younger Queen Voxera asked in the recording. You hold all the advantages now. Why offer us anything? Marcus Chun's reply was simple. Because tomorrow you'll send a larger fleet. Then we'll send more ships. Eventually, one of us will decide the only solution is to destroy the other completely. That path leads nowhere good. Princess Lorelei stared at the hologram. He prevented a war? He ended one that could have consumed both our peoples, Queen Vasera corrected. But that's not the most important part. Computer, show the aftermath recordings. New holograms appeared, showing the hours after the ceasefire was declared. Princess Lorelei saw human soldiers helping wounded Zephyrians, sharing medical supplies, offering food and water to their former enemies. He ordered his troops to care for our wounded. Princess Lorelei asked, more than that. When some of his own soldiers objected to helping the enemy, Colonel Chun relieved them of duty. He said that if humans wanted to be seen as civilized, they had to act civilized. Princess Lorelei watched Marcus Chun personally carrying a wounded Zephyrian soldier to a medical station. The alien he was helping had been trying to kill him hours earlier. Computer, show personnel records for Colonel Marcus Chun. Post-battle. New data appeared in the air. Princess Lorelei read through Marcus Chun's military career and felt her heart sink with each line. He was demoted? She whispered. Not demoted, but he was never promoted again. Many humans felt he had been too generous with the enemy. They thought he should have pressed his advantage, conquered our forces completely, but he saved millions of lives. Yes, and in doing so, he ended his own career advancement. Marcus Chun chose peace over personal gain. He chose the welfare of both species over human victory. Princess Lorelei stared at the holographic records. Marcus Chun's file showed 15 years of distinguished service after the battle, but he had remained a colonel while less experienced officers advanced past him. He sacrificed everything, Princess Lorelei said, her voice barely audible. Not everything. He kept his honor. And he gained something more valuable than rank. What? Queen Vaxera gestured to the records floating around them. The knowledge that he had done the right thing. That when faced with a choice between hatred and understanding, he chose understanding. Even when it cost him personally. Princess Lorelei felt tears forming in her silver eyes. For 3 days, she had mocked and humiliated the person responsible for the peace she had lived her entire life taking for granted. Mother, she whispered, what have I done? Queen Vaxera reached out and touched her daughter's face gently. You have learned a lesson that many never do. That true nobility has nothing to do with birth or rank or power. It has to do with choices, with character, with the courage to do what is right, even when it costs you everything. Princess Lorelei closed her eyes, feeling the weight of her mistakes crushing down on the next morning. Queen Vaxera called for a formal assembly in the Grand Throne Room. This was unusual. Formal assemblies were reserved for the most important state occasions, like coronations or declarations of war. Word spread quickly through the palace that something significant was about to happen. Princess Lirelei entered the throne room feeling sick to her stomach. She had not slept all night, replaying the holographic records over and over in her mind. Every cruel word she had spoken to Marcus Chun now felt like a weight pressing down on her chest. She took her place near the crystal throne, avoiding eye contact with everyone around her. The human delegation entered together, with Marcus Chun walking quietly at the back as always. He wore a fresh uniform to replace the one damaged in yesterday's combat demonstration. His expression was calm and patient, showing no sign of the revelations from the night before. Hundreds of Zephyrian nobles filled the vast room, their flowing robes creating a sea of shimmering color. They whispered among themselves, wondering why the queen had summoned them so suddenly. Some glanced at the humans with curiosity, others with the same casual superiority Princess Lirelei had displayed just days before. Queen Vaxera rose from her throne, and silence fell instantly. She wore her most formal crown, carved from a single star crystal that had taken a millennium to grow. Her voice carried clearly to every corner of the room without technological assistance. "My people," she began, "we gathered today to honor truth. For 3 days, you have witnessed the treatment of our human guests. You have seen mockery, cruelty, and disrespect shown to these visitors. Today, you will learn who they truly are." Princess Lirelei felt every eye in the room turn toward her. Her face burned with shame, but she forced herself to remain standing. "Computer," Queen Vaxera commanded, "display the historical records from the Battle of Kepler 442b. The same holographic displays that Princess Lirelei had seen the night before appeared in the air above the throne room. The assembled nobles gasped as they watched the tactical recreation of the battle that had ended the human Zephyrian War. 15 years ago, Queen Vaxera continued, our two species met in conflict. We expected an easy victory over primitive humans. Instead, we encountered something we had never seen before, an opponent who could turn our own strengths against us. The hologram showed the battle in all its intensity. Zephyrian nobles who had only known peace watched in amazement as their forces struggled against supposedly inferior human defenders. They saw their technology neutralized by tactics they didn't understand. The human commander was a 48-year-old colonel named Marcus Chun, Queen Vaxera announced. The same man who stands before you today. Every head in the room turned toward the human delegation. Marcus Chun remained at attention, his face expressionless as hundreds of alien eyes stared at him. But Colonel Chun's greatest achievement was not military victory, Queen Vaxera continued. It was the choice he made when victory was within his grasp. The hologram showed the final hours of the battle, when human forces had surrounded the Zephyrian command center. Princess Lirelei watched her people see, for the first time, how close they had come to total defeat. He could have killed us all, Queen Vaxera said simply. By all rights of war, he should have. Instead, he chose a different path. The audio recordings played for the entire assembly. They heard Marcus Chun's calm voice offering peace instead of demanding surrender. They listened as he proposed cooperation instead of conquest. Most importantly, they witnessed his genuine concern for both human and Zephyrian lives. When the recordings ended, the throne room remained silent for long minutes. The implications were staggering. Their entire peaceful relationship with humanity existed because one human soldier had chosen mercy over vengeance. The peace we have enjoyed for 15 years, Queen Vaxera announced. The technological exchanges that have benefited both our peoples. The cultural sharing that has enriched our lives. All of this exists because Colonel Marcus Chun made the harder choice. She gestured to the human delegation. Yet for 3 days, this man has been mocked and humiliated in our halls. He's been called weak, primitive, and useless by those who owe their very lives to his wisdom and restraint. Princess Lorelei felt tears running down her face. Around the room, other nobles shifted uncomfortably as they remembered their own laughter at her cruel games. "Colonel Chun," Queen Vaxera called out. "Please step forward." Marcus Chen walked through the crowd of Zephyrian nobles. They moved aside to create a path, many of them staring at him with new understanding. He stopped before the crystal throne and came to attention. "Colonel Marcus Chun," Queen Vaxera said, her voice carrying the weight of 3,000 years of authority. "You have shown honor that transcends species. You have demonstrated courage that goes beyond physical bravery. You have chosen the welfare of others over personal gain, peace over victory, understanding over hatred." She reached up and removed her crown, the symbol of absolute power over billions of beings. The crystal caught the light from the floating stones above, sending rainbows across the throne room walls. Then Queen Vaxera, ruler of the Zephyrian Empire, bowed deeply to Marcus Chun. The gesture sent shockwaves through the assembled nobles. Queens did not bow to anyone. The very concept was unthinkable. Yet here was their monarch, lowering her head in respect to a human soldier. "You honor us all by your presence," Queen Vaxera said, still bowed. "You are a guardian of two worlds, a protector of peace, and an example of what leadership truly means." Marcus Chun stood motionless for several seconds. Then he stepped forward and gently placed his hand under Queen Vaxera's arm, helping her straighten. "Your Majesty," he said quietly, "the honor is mine. The Zephyrian people have shown great wisdom in choosing peace over war. That choice required courage from both sides." Queen Vaxera replaced her crown and smiled, a rare expression that transformed her austere features. "Wisdom is knowing when to fight and when to forgive. You taught us both." She turned to address the assembly again. "Let it be recorded that Colonel Marcus Chun is hereby granted the Star of Eternal Peace, the highest honor our empire can bestow. Let it also be recorded that any who mock or dishonor him dishonor the very foundation of our civilization." The nobles burst into applause, but Princess Lorelei barely heard it. She was walking forward, her legs trembling with each step. When she reached Marcus Chun, she stopped and looked into his dark eyes. "Colonel," she said, her voice breaking, "I owe you an apology that words cannot express. I mocked the man who gave me my life, who made my peaceful existence possible. I was cruel to someone who showed mercy when he had every right to choose revenge." She reached up and removed her own crown, a smaller version of her mother's, but still incredibly valuable. "I offer you this as a symbol of my respect and my shame. I know it cannot undo what I said, but perhaps it can begin to show that I understand how wrong I was." Marcus Chun looked at the offered crown for a moment, then gently pushed her hands back toward her. "Your Highness," he said, "I don't need your crown, but I would be honored to have your understanding. The greatest gift you can give is not gold or jewels, but the wisdom to treat others with dignity, regardless of their appearance or origins." Princess Lorelei held the crown against her chest, tears flowing freely now. "How can you forgive me? How can you be so kind to someone who treated you so terribly?" Marcus Chen smiled, the first genuine smile she had seen from him. Because forgiveness is not about what the other person deserves. It's about choosing to break the cycle of hurt. If I held on to anger, what would that teach you? What kind of peace would that create? He looked around the throne room at all the watching faces. Humans and Zephyrians are different in many ways, but we both have the capacity for growth, for change, for becoming better than we were. That's what gives me hope for both our peoples." Princess Lorelei replaced her crown with shaking hands. "I want to be better," she whispered. "I want to be worthy of the peace you gave us." "Then you already are," Marcus Chun replied. The desire to improve is the first step toward wisdom. Queen Vaxera stepped forward again. Let this day be remembered not as a day of shame, but as a day of learning. Let us all strive to see beyond surface appearances to the character beneath. Let us remember that true strength often appears as gentleness, and true nobility shows itself through service to others. The assembly erupted in sustained applause, but Princess Lyrelay barely heard it. She was looking at Marcus Chun with new eyes, seeing not an old human soldier, but a man who had shaped history through choices most people never have to make. A man who had chosen correctly again and again, even when it cost him personally. As the ceremony concluded and the nobles began to disperse, Princess Lyrelay made her own choice. She would spend the rest of her life trying to live up to the example Marcus Chun had set. She would work to become a leader worthy of the peace he had made possible. And perhaps, someday, she would understand that the greatest victory is not defeating your enemies, but turning them into friends. Marcus Chun walked back toward the human delegation, surrounded now by respectful Zephyrian nobles who wanted to hear his stories and learn from his experience. He moved with the same quiet,